Here we go.
What's up, man?
How you
I
doing?
am Pape. What's up?
Lots up. Had a good day running around with you. So that's a pretty good in my book.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Man, thanks for coming to Charlotte to see me, bro.
I wouldn't miss it. I know you offered to travel to see me, but I'd much rather be here. So
Well, you know, when you live in San Antonio, Texas, Charlotte, North Carolina is very appealing, I'm sure.
yeah, if you don't get enough humidity in San Antonio, come here.
here.
It sounds great.
The weather's actually good today. It
Yeah, it's
rained,
nice.
I think, all last week.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice.
So let's start this thing off. Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah, who are you, bro? Like, where were you born?
Where was I born? Midwest, born in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Lived there for about 12 years. Cardinals fan, baseball fan. Are you a baseball fan?
Here's the thing. I'm a fan of everyone I go to the ballpark with. So when I went to see a Boston game, I was a Boston fan. When I went to Atlanta Braves, I was an Atlanta Braves fan. When I went to Texas Rangers games the other day, I was a Texas Rangers fan. I go wherever the excitement goes. I'm the local fan.
Okay, so you're not a baseball fan.
No.
Mike is an equal opportunist fan.
I love everyone that's excited, and I feed off excitement.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So if you're a fan of which Cardinals?
Cardinals, yeah, sure.
Man, I would.
Well, if you were born in St. Louis, you're always a fan of the Cardinals.
Okay.
There's no, you don't have a choice. So it's a
Okay.
you're a fan for life. So yeah, born in St. Louis, moved to Texas when I was 12, and so more Texan than not, I guess at this point.
Okay. 12.
12.
And
yeah.
you moved where?
Moved to San Antonio.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So you've been
then,
in San Antonio since you were 12 years old?
Yeah, went to school in Austin, University of Texas. Stayed there for a little while, but then found my way back a couple years after that. And been there ever since.
Wow. So take me through college. What did you learn in college?
I learned how to get good grades and do the least amount of work possible.
Sounds like Audrey.
Sounds like every great CEO.
I think I probably learned some other bad habits, but
Probably
had a
like
lot
Thad
of fun.
too. Thad, you were probably like that too,
Yeah.
right? All the smart guys just did minimal effort, and
Yeah, I was guilty of that.
you did
Yeah.
minimal effort.
Minimal effort, yeah. I still have a dream about a physics class that I was terrible at. That it comes back. It's more of a nightmare.
And you're
So-
47?
43.
43.
Thanks for commenting on my
Really?
youthful appearance.
Well, I saw some receding hair. Or no, I'm
Well, it
just
looks better than yours, but
kidding. You're
yeah.
right. Are you really 43?
43, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I thought you were older than that.
So yeah, it was a good time to be in Austin before it was cool. And but found my way back to San Antonio and never left.
Where'd you get a degree in?
Computer science.
Yep. And what was your first job out of college?
I was working for a consulting company where we came in to help other companies develop software and solve their problems.
Okay.
And I thought at the time that's probably what I was going to do in life
What was
forever.
that company's name?
It's not around anymore, so you never even know it. So
Wow.
yeah.
What'd you do after that?
So XPEL was ultimately our client, and so I went from there to XPEL was a client. We're doing work for them, and I ultimately went to work for what was the predecessor of XPEL, a company called Reflex.
Reflex.
Reflex was
Okay.
the name.
And what did they do?
Well, the original business, and a lot of people don't know this about XPEL, the original business was headlamp covers, 40 mil PVC headlamp covers for glass headlights.
Oh,
And
the
they were-
snap-ons, those Velcro.
No, they were adhesive backed,
Okay.
40 mil thick PVC, clear, giant die stamped headlight covers. And so, die stamp them. They were originally sold, I think, like Autosport catalog, sold online. That was the very first product for what became XPEL. And it was after that I got involved because the original founder said, okay, we have these giant steel ruled dies for the headlamp covers, but there was a first kind of film for paint. It said you can't make a die for the front of a car, so that's where sort of the pattern business came from, and that's how we got involved.
Really?
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yep.
I had no idea.
Yep. So not much market for those today.
No.
40 mil thick with no glass headlamps left.
So your first job for XPEL was to design a pattern for headlights.
No, that was before me. So I got involved in XPEL when XPEL was going to pivot to be a software company to make patterns for what would ultimately become the PPF business.
Got it.
And they took inspiration from those headlamp covers because those were patterned and then they had a giant steel ruled die and die press them. Well, obviously, if you're going to do something bigger than a headlight, you can't make a giant die. So that's where the idea to have these patterns for ultimately the PPF business came from. And XPEL was going to be a software company. So I was working for this consulting company who was ultimately hired by XPEL to work on this software, which that was going to be the whole business. That was the business.
Right.
That was the only intention of the business. And that's how I got involved, first on the outside, working for this consulting company. And then ultimately I literally just took a job with what became XPEL. It was the 12th employee.
Who was in charge of XPEL then? Tim?
So yeah, there was Tim Hart, who's still with us today.
Right.
And there was one other founder, and it was the two of them.
Who was the other founder?
Reggie Brunner. And the two of them, yeah, they started the company together in some sequence of events, but he hasn't been involved for a long time, and Tim's been with us ever since.
Yeah, I love
since
Tim.
the beginning. Yeah,
he's crazy.
Yeah, he is crazy. Yeah, almost as crazy as you. So
almost. That's why we get along.
Yeah.
No, that's very interesting. So when you made patterns, tell me exactly that transition. So you came headlights, XPEL, you took a job at XPEL. What did they hire you to do?
Yeah, so they hired me to do what the consulting company was doing, which is basically to make a software to deliver the patterns and help with the design of the patterns. I wasn't involved in making the patterns. That was never sort of my job. But at the time, they wanted to be, the vision was to be a software company only and forever. And so started outsourcing that and then said, okay, we should take that internal to build this software. So I left that consulting company and came to work for the company basically to do the same thing, to lead the development of that software. And this was, that was probably 2004 when I did that, 2005 maybe.
2005.
Yeah, so a long time ago. Lots happened.
There was a company called InvensaShield.
Yep.
In North Wilkesboro.
Yep.
And I used to buy patterns and kits from them.
Yep. Yeah, there were a couple. I mean, if you go back in the archives, there was actually another company that Tim Hart was involved in early on. I forget the name now, but they all kind of came together. But it was so early. You're really focused on maybe the wrong thing, right?
Like in
Just focused on
2005,
that.
how many employees did XPEL have back then?
Well, I was the 12th.
12th employee.
Yeah. So that was it.
How the hell did you become CEO?
Yeah, well, that's probably the more interesting story. A little bit of luck and good timing and misfortune probably, after a period of time. I mean, I think what happened, the business, you ultimately realized that there wasn't going to be a business of just being the software business. It could be a great companion to a bigger business,
right.
But it wasn't just going to be a business by itself. If you thought, I think originally, hey, maybe there'd be 50 employees and all you're going to do is sell the software and just mint money. Well, that's fine in theory, but there were no products, there were no installers, there's no consumer awareness, there's very little training, there's no marketing. So having the software by itself was only so useful. So that played out over a period of years. There was the founder and Tim, then there was another outside CEO in for a few years. And then you got to the 07, 08, which was a terrible time to be in business. And XPEL, the company, had never made $1 of profit. It relied on raised money the whole time up to that point. And so you get into 08 and you need to raise money to continue to operate. You're going to have trouble, right? There's no money to raise. So I ultimately left in the summer of 08. And I was going to go back in consulting and just go back in the software business because the company was in bad shape. I mean, it was a bad time. The company had never been profitable once, so I left. And then through another series of events, I got a call from one of the members of the board said, "Hey, would you come back to be the CEO?" And you would say, well, why? Well, it's because there was no one else. I mean, that's the real story.
Everybody else said no.
Everyone else said no. Anyone worth asking said no. And so for whatever reason, they called me. And, the company was in terrible shape. But I knew that there was possibility and promise and that it could become something more than it was. So when he called, I said, sure, why not? So that was then February of 09. I was maybe 27 or something. And they're like, okay, you're the CEO. Great. Let's go.
Now what?
Now what? Yeah. Now what?
What does the first day of the being CEO mean?
Well, I think there was a lot of, oh shit, what did I sign myself up for?
Right.
But at that time, I mean, the business had no money, and you're literally managing, vendors and suppliers and cash flow.
Yeah.
And Chris Coffey, who's still with us today, our controller, she would reconcile, and I mean, a lot of people listening to this could probably relate. She'd reconcile cash in the bank account every day. You think about doing that like once a month or something. She would do it every day just to see what you could do to find a few dollars to pay people and keep it moving, and then have enough money for payroll, in 2 weeks or whatever it was. So that was really the first day. Then I think on the fifth day, we were sued for an unpaid bill, for a racing sponsorship we had done, and it was like, we owed like $250,000, which at the time, I mean, the revenue the revenue going into that 2009 year was maybe $6 million annual revenue, something like that. So when you have somebody show up and say, hey, you owe us $250,000, it's like, okay,
I can't pay that.
Game over.
Yeah.
Game over.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Well, that's what I told them. I said, look, I just took the job. I'm just CEO. I don't own any of the company, which was true. I didn't own one share of the company at the time. And I said, and we have no money. So, we're just not going to be able to pay you. And this may be the one thing that'll dump us over the edge.
Right.
If you pursue this. And, well, you owe the money. I said, no question. But you understand, $250,000 is, I mean, that's a lifetime.
That's 4 months of payroll.
It's a lifetime of money at that point. And I said, look, I'll make you a deal. I said, I have a Continental Airlines credit card that I don't use. It's a $25,000 limit on it. You could charge it. $25 for $250. You get it now, and you just waive the rest. I'll get paid back when I get paid back. Oh, well, we couldn't possibly do that. We're a serious business. This is sponsorship business.
Right.
I said, okay. I said, what you don't know, attorney, I said, we're a public company, as we were in Canada at the time, which is another story. And I give consulting advice on public companies in Canada. We'll come back to that one. It's a longer story. But I said, look, we're public. You can go look at our financials if you don't believe if you think we have the money. I said, so consider the offer and call me back. Oh, we couldn't do it. Called back in 3 days, said fine. Yeah. So charge a credit card. I got a free trip to Mexico. Good. $25 for $250, and then you're off to the races. And really, that was like the next year. Trying to negotiate, horse trade, keep the plates spinning, and credit to everybody that was involved.
The thing I will tell you about you is you're a believable guy. Like, whatever words come out of your mouth, I trust that they're genuinely believable. There's not a lot of bullshit.
Well, I guess the attorney thought that too, right?
And good thing too.
And good thing, yeah, or we probably wouldn't be here today.
Now, if I was on the other line, it'd be like, bro, there's no way, Mike, you got money. I know you do. I can tell the way you're talking. So
yeah, so that's where we started, and then it was a year or two of really just kind of like going through that same process. Like,
they hired the right CEO.
I think so. I think I didn't know so. I didn't aspire to be the CEO of anything. But you don't know. Like, I'm 27, 26 before that, and I look at the things the company was doing. I'm like, I don't know that I agreed with them all, but how do you know what other people are doing are right or wrong, or you're the guy that's wrong. So I'm like, why do we do this? I'm like, I don't know. What do I know?
Some of the myth is that you invented DAP.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
You don't think so?
No. I mean, I think the credit to DAP, the concept, and the start of it goes to Tim Hart.
Okay.
Because I think he had that vision, and if you know Tim, he's a multidisciplinary guy. So he'll give me a challenge, I'll go do it. So you tell me we need a software, like he'll go write the software up to the point that he knows how to do it. So he really drove that. And the credit to him was saying, okay, I got this where it's going, but now we need to bring in more people that know more about it.
Right.
So he's the one I would give the credit to inventing it. I think I came in at a time where we could just make it better, probably.
So I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No.
Listening to this story, Ryan, is just absolutely fascinating to me, because everybody looks at XPEL as the monster right now, right? You know, it's the monster. It is the big thing. It's everybody's looking at it as it. Well, of course they've got a ton of this, a ton of that, but you just shared what every small business owner should go through.
For sure.
And somebody who came in and believed that a company can work and took it upon himself to go into debt for the company.
Yeah.
Not many business owners, let alone incoming young CEOs, would do that.
Well, I think ultimately, you have to put your money where your mouth is. And, ultimately, I went on to buy shares in the company too. When we bought out, some of the early owners, I did that with my money. Every share, my personal money, every share, nearly every share that I own today or have owned, I bought. And, people don't necessarily realize that, but I bought every one, and I bought it at a time when you had no idea.
It was pennies.
Yeah, no, pennies. It was literally pennies.
About thousands of shares for.
Most of the shares I bought were at 4.5 cents a share.
4.5 cents.
4.5 cents.
The most that you bought was at 4.5.
4.5. Yeah.
How many did you buy? Thousands of dollars. Thousands of shares.
A lot, more than that. But at the time, you were thinking, okay, pretty good chance we can make it 25 cents a share.
Yeah.
Maybe we can make it to 50, or maybe we'll just lose all our money.
If we
go
get to
do
a
something
dollar,
else,
we're
right?
like money.
Yeah, no. So
you can take it right here if you want to pull it.
Yeah, so I think that that's important too, because that's to the question. That's the skin in the game, and I think then you care. However much money it is, it was a lot of money to me at the time. And so, like, you better bet we're going to try and make it successful.
Hey, Garrett, I'm $100,000 a share, bro. You want some?
I can't afford you.
All right, we'll negotiate.
But so I'm 32.
Yep.
Thinking about coming in 5 years ago, if Sunstopper's a publicly traded company, let alone even XPEL, and they came to me and said, "Hey, we're in trouble. We owe $250,000 to this one vendor, and it's take it or leave it." I don't think that anybody would have had the fortitude to say, you know what, I got a credit card that's got a zero balance on it. Take this.
Well, I think a lot of people probably do. I think you look at people like Mike, you look at probably a lot of people listening to this. If there's something I can relate to, it's, when you have your back against the wall or you have to make a personal sacrifice, you have to do something. People kind of probably look at me now and think that that I can't relate to that, but I can from this experience. And I didn't do that because I was smart. I just did it because it's what needed to be done, which I think is what most people do.
That's what I was looking for.
I think people would do that if you believe in something. And what a lot of people don't know too is we've had many employees on our team who did the same thing. Anybody could have bought the stock. It was publicly traded. So at 2 cents, 4 cents, 5 cents, anyone could have done that over time. And you look at who did it and who didn't do it. It's pretty interesting. But they took a gamble on the company as well at that same time.
And when you guys hit $100 a share, it was kind of like, hell yeah.
Well, that was crazy. That's sort of meme stock territory at that point.
It was big.
And one thing no one's ever heard from me is walking through our office celebrating the share price.
No, I've never heard one out of your mouth ever.
Never once. And you never will, because, that's a temporary reflection of the market's opinion of you in the future. And it doesn't mean nothing, but that's all it is. And what you're ultimately judged on is, what do you do over a much longer period of time?
Yes.
What's the terminal value of what you're building? And that's all I've ever been focused on. So when you hear high-fiving when it is $100 a share, I'm telling people get back to work, because you're focused on the wrong thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. That's what I wanted people to hear. Because it was a small business, and that's how it started. And it's gotten to a point where it's no longer considered that, but every business starts as a small business.
Well, XPEL went through so many different trials and tribulations. They went through so many things. You had the thing with 3M, and you were making patterns for 3M.
No, we weren't. No,
you weren't.
No, we've never made patterns for anyone else.
Only you guys.
Yeah,
so what was that discrepancy about?
Well, at one point there was a patent infringement lawsuit with 3M that we ultimately settled. But I think, it's no different than every other business, right? I mean, some of it, because you're a public company, you know, it plays out in public, but everybody has their issues and challenges over time. And so I think that, you know, a lot of people can relate to that. You know, I came in, it was $6 million a year run rate business, and we sold off half of it. We sold back our distribution in Canada at the time. It's back to a $3 million business, you know, in that 09, 10. So, I mean, like, you know, plenty of people listening to this are that business.
So
today.
09, 010, what catapulted you guys up?
Well, I mean, 09, 010 was really 9, 10 into 11 was really like just run the business well and begin to embrace your identity that who are you? Well, we're about this product of paint protection film. We're not a software company. Like, lean into that fully. So I think you really saw that started to happen during that period of time. But, you know, up to that point, you know, the company never had a salesperson, ever.
Really?
And so I came in and I'm like, look, I'm 27. I don't know. I mean, I was going to do software. I don't know what I'm doing, right? So, but what do you do if you want to sell more? Well, I think you should hire a salesperson.
Start with sales.
So that's what we did.
Nothing is made until something is sold.
And
Period.
maybe sell it, you know, now I would say sell it before you've made it.
Yeah.
But back then I was probably more conservative.
If you sell me $1 million worth of stuff, I'll go figure out how to make it.
So we started doing things like that.
Right.
And look, I mean, the you know, success in anything is hard work, luck, timing, all sorts of stuff. And for us, I think you had some really committed people that worked hard, and you also had the right time. You know, you had sort of this product category that didn't exist, and we were sort of coming of age as a company, as a real company, at a time when it was ultimately going to be more known.
I mean, you're putting freaking paint protection film, and they say it PPF, paint protection film, but we're putting it on countertops now. We're putting it on appliances. We're putting it on.
Yeah.
I've seen, like, literally so many people put paint protection on so many things. Now, we have a bar at our house in Texas, and we have a glass shelf. And literally a week ago, I paint protected the entire glass shelf, front and back. So that way when I put the glasses on there, they don't make the clink, and they stick.
Yep.
And it's amazing.
Well, I mean,
we scratch the glass, and it's
yeah.
awesome.
I mean, we've been asked for years, like, okay, why do you sell pieces of PPF on the website? It's because people buy them for everything you can imagine and those that you can't imagine, and those are all good ideas for us and for, you know, the rest of the industry. But it's been like that since day one, and they'll buy lengths of film and then come back to say, hey, this is what I did with it. I think we famously did all the toilet seats in a hotel in Mexico City.
Did you really?
Yeah. So another use you never knew of, but that came by byproduct of just selling the product.
But that, I mean, that goes back to why would I not want the opportunity to sell to someone that just point blank?
Well, why not? And what can you learn? I mean, I guess part of, you know, my experience here has been like, you know, as a business, you could be anything you want. Like, what does that mean? Like, you could be this today or that tomorrow. You could grow into this. So if you're in the business of selling this film, you know, why wouldn't you look and see where else can it go? And I think as a business, we've barely started that now. I mean, you did what you did at your bar because you knew to do it. But, you know, 99.9% of the people could do the same thing, but they have no idea because it's not really out there.
Yep. How far do you think XPEL can go?
Well, I think you could go the rest of my life and beyond. I mean,
are you still having fun?
Look, I say that 9 out of 10 days need to be fun.
Yep.
Or else you need to find something else to do.
I rode around with you all day. I picked you up at the airport. You're the CEO of a publicly traded company, and me and you are just hanging out like two buddies, shooting the shit.
Well, that's all it is. I mean, you're the CEO of your sprawling empire. I don't know that it's that different.
I tell everyone I'm the head coach.
Yeah, and I like that better.
I'm not a CEO of anything. I'm the head coach of a team.
You might be, but you could be a coach also. We should all be a coach.
I'm the head coach, man.
But look, I think the challenges, like, I don't know that my challenges day to day are that different than anybody else, right? I mean, you've got trying to get increasingly large group of people to all be motivated, move in the right direction, and make things better than they were the day before.
Right.
And, you know, that's the challenge. That's like the challenge of all challenges for all of us. And, you know, as you have more people, in a way it gets harder, in a way it gets easier, you know, it's just different. But I think that is the challenge. And so, you know, I loved riding around with you today, and, you know, it reminds me that I should spend more time doing that and less time, you know, doing whatever else I'm doing, right? That's where the value is.
You
and
ride with me every day.
But you need to be reminded of that, right? Like you've got to be at the tip of the spear. You got to be with the customer. You got to be in the field. Whatever your metaphor, like that's what's important.
Well, the thing that made it really easy for me to join XPEL is you guys. I mean, and I know this sounds kind of a little bit crazy, but you guys are killers. And what I mean by that is like the Chris Hardys and just people on the team. You hire people that are motivated, they look good, they work out, and they're just killers, which means they're passionate about what they're doing. And that to me tells me that you're a great head coach.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I think that I look at myself like I'm the steward of this company, right? I don't own it. I am a shareholder, but I don't own it, right?
Right.
So, you know, the company could be around 100 years from now.
Right.
And, you know, who knows? You go back, you look at companies that existed 100 years ago and how different they are, but it can be. And so that's the message to the team is like, you know, you're not a small division of a big company where we're competing for resources or focus. We're not owned by private equity, which has a certain mindset, right? And we're also not owned by Ryan, because if we were, you know, I might make different decisions. I might, you know, if you had the right owner who says, look, my lifestyle is more important than the growth of the business, you'd get a different business. So we're none of those things.
Right.
So we're like a distinct thing that can live forever. And I think that helps with the people, and it helps recruit the people and show them, like, I mean, we joked about it earlier, but like, okay, ideally the next CEO of XPEL would come from within, and they're working in our company now, and maybe they don't know that that's who they are, but ideally they would be. So I think if you could see that and believe that dynamic of the way we're structured actually could be a positive thing, which I didn't, you know, back to being a Canadian public company originally, which I can give you my Canadian public company advice. I give free consulting, but it goes back to that, right? And, you know, that can be really, you could turn it into something really valuable. I think it has been.
So XDC is what really sold me on being part of the family of XPEL. When I was able to get around other people like myself, we talked about that earlier today. What really made me want to be part of the team is when I saw the pond that was bigger than myself.
Yeah.
And I saw people killing it outside of me, which gave me some motivation to say, whoa, all right, I thought I was doing well. And I'm like, these dudes are freaking killing it.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, now I'm motivated in a friendly competition. And we are now, like, it's really insane, because the very first XTC I went to, Chris got a table of people in a room that were all, I guess, the biggest dealers at the time. And we are all still friends today.
Yeah, that's great.
All of us.
That's great.
We talk all the time. We brainstorm all the time. And that collaboration has helped us all succeed and become better at what we do.
Better and bigger.
We have.
Yeah.
But we've all learned from each other. Like every person, like I can pick up the phone and call this person, or that person. And I'm going to know what that skill set person's going to add, or this one. And I'm going to be like, hey man, I need advice on this. I need advice on that. I don't always have the right answer.
Right.
But I know where to look for it.
Sure. Yeah, you got a group of people that could do that. They could be that sounding board for you.
Do you do that?
Do I have that group?
Yep.
You know, I've been asked that a lot. You know, people are like, oh, who's your mentor?
Mentor.
Well, I've been asked who's the mentor. So I think two things. So people ask me, like, who's the mentor? And I never had a good answer to that. You know, my experience was probably the opposite. Like, people that I looked up to, especially as you saw different things happen in this business over time that ended up disappointing me. And so it's kind of the anti-mentor. I think it took me later in life to get kind of a group of people like that for me.
Right.
And I wish it had happened sooner. Like it's probably only the past 5 years that I've kind of been able to develop that. But you see why it's so so powerful. And that's why we do things like the conference, because you want to try and bring people together. And it's also a way to say, like, you have to keep the business real, and resist some of these outside pressures and urges as much as possible. I mean, I know our legal and HR people are probably listening, but you have to push back where you can. You have to try and keep that at bay and not get distracted from what you're doing. And it's hard, right? You have all these outside influences, but it's so important to do that. So like an event like that, you get all your best customers together, like-minded people who are really energized. It helps, remind you of that. Like, okay, this is what's important.
Yeah, to me, dealer conference was one of the most important things that I'd ever been to. But now I'm on my, 9th one or 10th one. I'm just kidding. It's, it starts to, that group of people are still friends of mine today, which means that the next Mike Burke and the next this person and the next that person, we need to still create the environment for them to come.
For sure, yeah.
And get that same experience.
Yeah, you want the next generation. Right. I mean, I certainly do, to have that same experience and make those same connections.
How many people call you and tell you they look up to you?
More than probably should.
More than should?
More than probably should. It's usually ends up from people that I've never met, which is like, for me, that makes me like very uncomfortable.
It makes me uncomfortable.
I don't like anything about it. It took me a long time to realize the best answer to that is, hey, thank you. Let me know if I can help you in some way, because it's not, I would have wanted to avoid that type of attention pretty much my whole life. But,
so a dealer conference for me now, year one, I was deer in headlights walking around going, holy shit, look at all these people.
Yep.
And now it's like, you're Mike Burke. How you doing?
Right.
And I'm sitting there like, bro, I do the same shit you do.
Right.
I'm the same guy you are.
Yep.
I just have a few more stores. I've been doing it longer. What do you need?
Right.
And they want to meet me.
Yep.
And I'm just like, I'm just a guy.
Yeah. Well, I think it's hard for people to believe that could be the case, but it is the case. I mean, I think if you have the success you've had and you're not still that guy, like, you're probably going down a path you don't want to go down. I mean, it could be a dark road.
Because I talk to anybody.
Sure.
You know that.
Yep.
And I think the very first time I actually met you was I walked up to you and said, I want a Guinness World Record.
Yep.
And,
I remember that.
And I said, hey man, do you want all my window tint business? I'm with Suntech now, but if you want all my window tint business, give me a freaking Guinness World Record. And you were like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, holy shit.
Well, I'm glad you remembered the story the same way I did. That is what I remember.
It was pretty much the same story.
But I think, that's the right story.
Yep.
But I think, like, that's the way, like, companies should make decisions. You
were so approachable and so cool that our relationship just kind of started that day.
Yep.
And do you feel there's a level of intimidation that you bring by being the CEO of a company?
Well, I think that there is, because people tell me that there is, but I wish that there wasn't.
Right.
Like, I love our team.
Yeah.
I love our customers. I'll talk to anyone. I'll respond to any email. And whether good, bad, or otherwise, I get some are free to.
Right.
Some share more than others, right? But there shouldn't be. And I like the conference. That's a great example, because I'll just stand in the lobby and it's just talk to people.
Right.
I just stand. I don't have an agenda. It's not like I have somewhere to be. Like, just walk up and talk.
You're there for us.
That's it. Yeah, because that's where you learn. I mean, you learn directly, and you've got a million opinions. No one agrees on anything.
No.
And maybe that is the job ultimately, is listen to your opinions and the next one and say, okay, can we be all things to all people, or what's the common ground? But you're not going to know any of it if you don't try to be approachable, and then know that some people won't do it anyway.
Well, excuse me. One thing that I have noticed with you is that you're very good at pulling your phone out and writing down notes.
Yeah.
I am not kidding. I think for the last 5 years, I will pull you aside probably once a year, and we'll have like a good 10-minute conversation. And I think every single time you pull your phone out and you're like, all right, that's a good idea. Let me write that down.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Well, because otherwise you forget about it. There's too many things.
Is there a
right?
Mike Burke notes page?
There is. Yeah, I don't think it's titled Mike Burke. It's probably a euphemism for you that we shouldn't repeat. Yeah, but there might be. But I mean, it's like you got to get it down and then give time to reflect. And also, I think whether it's sending the email or writing it, like I have terrible handwriting. If I had a notebook when I was with you, I would have written it down. For me, that just helps commit it to memory too. It's like, okay, if I'm intentional about writing it down or sending it, I'm more likely to remember it. But there's you have to have some type of process to try and organize it because it's nonstop.
Do you just have a day where you go in your office and you review notes?
I do. I try to do it. I put half an hour on the calendar every week to sit there and go through it and go through the old stuff and say, okay, is there anything on here that I can do something with now?
Right.
Because a lot of times, everybody has great ideas, and it's like, but they're all competing with other great ideas.
Right.
So it may mean that, the answer is yes, it's just not today.
Right.
So if you could go back to it,
right.
And, I'm sort of maniacal about like, we had a similar conversation today, but you got to pick a few things and get them done. There's nothing worse than, 190% complete things, because then you've accomplished nothing.
Right.
Garrett
has one job: sell more.
I continue to disappoint.
Hey, Audrey, could I ask you a big favor? Could you pour me some more whiskey?
So, Ryan, as CEO, and you've developed from 2009?
2009, yeah.
2009 to now. What is one habit you realize you have developed and need to continue to develop as a CEO?
Oh, I mean, I could probably give you a bunch.
Cool.
I would say from 2009 to today, I'm probably way more. At least I feel like I'm way more empathetic to our team. To their aspirations, their career aspirations, their input. I think probably when I started, there was a little bit more of like, well, I'm the CEO, so. And like, you have to get your teeth kicked in a few times to learn that maybe that's not the best approach. So I think that's one. The other is, you have to reinvent yourself over and over. And I feel like that I'm challenged. And how do I do that, every day? Like the things I had to do at $6 million a year in revenue are not the same today. And I think you had to be willing to go way into the weeds then. But you have to know when to go way in the weeds, which I'll still do, but you have to be able to get out, and you have to find that balance. So, I mean, I think the answer to that question is it's sort of never ending.
You're always evolving.
You have to. I think you have to.
Like, even the podcast, like I'm learning from you, having you here today.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that's important to me, is constantly be evolving and learning. I learn everything from Garrett. I mean, Garrett's an amazing sales guy.
I do what I can. I try to bring in as much immaturity and expertise as I can.
He's an expert in happiness.
Yeah.
That's his key tag.
It's Instagram.
Yeah, it's funny.
And I think, I've been, I mean, so many things you put in an uncomfortable situation. We kind of talked about that earlier too. And like how valuable that is. I mean, a little adversity, a little being uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I mean, I've had that in spades, things I knew nothing about and maybe still don't, but like ultimately you're the leader of some organization, like you have to know about it. I had a shareholder early on, very early, and he called me and said, hey, left a voicemail. Hey, I have some questions about the cash flow statement. And, for anybody that looks at any financials, the cash flow statement is maybe the most important, but also the most confusing.
Might as well be Greek.
Yeah. And I said, this was like Friday, I get this voicemail, and we were going to talk on Monday. I said, well, shit, I don't know anything about the cash flow statement. And I'm the CEO, right?
Right.
So I spent the weekend
learning.
And I'm like, I'm going to be the expert. And then I talked to the guy on Monday, and he didn't know anything about it. But I would never have done that if I didn't have that deadline and that trepidation and, being uncomfortable like that. So I think, you have to embrace that. You have to embrace a little suffering along the way, probably.
I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We were talking earlier in the truck. You pulled out your driver's license. from like years ago? How old is that driver's license?
That's probably 10 years. That
You
picture
still
was
have
10
it?
years. I think they keep the same picture.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, Ryan, you were a little chubby.
Yeah, yep, that's one way to say it, probably.
And there goes our film allotment.
Yeah,
forever.
that's it. Somebody in the office make a note here.
No, I'm making it fun, man. This is fun.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And the thing is, like, we know our friend Matt, right?
Yep.
And Matt is a ball buster, right? He is the ex-VP of
Yep.
XPEL, which I love. You and I both love him. And he's a guy that's dedicated, determined, like all in fitness and doing road biking. But he introduced you to intermittent fasting.
right. And in fairness, I met him when he was fat too.
He was.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
No.
You know what?
That's the part of the, that's the untold part of the
You know what?
story.
This is so funny because Chris West handed me a picture of Matt when he was chubby.
Yep.
And I texted it to him. He didn't respond for 3 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, tell me about that. So health and fitness is now part of your life.
Yeah, for sure.
And the reason I'm diverting into this is because I think that you're sharper and you're making better decisions. Not saying better. Let me rephrase that. I feel like our relationship, that who you were 6 years ago
Yeah.
and who you are today, like I've evolved.
Oh, for sure.
And so have you.
Yeah, no, I mean, all that for me was life-changing. I mean, what you said was true. And it was Matt Moreau who, you know, we were traveling together in Canada once, and we met for breakfast at the hotel, and you're going to go eat the buffet. He said, I'm not eating breakfast. And I was like, what, you know?
Really?
Like, why are we here? Like,
Right.
what are we doing?
Right.
And that started with him, you know, on this intermittent fasting. And he you know, quickly convinced me, you know, he's a very persuasive guy, and then others as well. But that really, you know, that started a big change for me. And, you know, in terms of my appearance, but every other facet of health. And then, you know, that really changed my life in a lot of ways. And I think, you know, one of the things from the early XPEL days, you know, really from the beginning in 2009, probably up until 2015, you know, I'd work the graveyard shift. You know, I was up till
Right.
midnight, 1 a.m. every night. And you realize how bad that is for you. And so then, you know, getting on with the intermittent fasting and exercising and focusing on sleep, I mean, it's life-changing. And now I think to your point, you could accomplish way more in a shorter period of time
Right.
than you ever could. You know, there's no after lunch hangover from French fries and
We just left the
cheeseburgers and
Expo
stuff.
warehouse, and I was talking to the operation manager there, and he was saying, yeah, we had a big lunch, and I lost 2 of my guys for the day.
Yeah.
It's like, you eat lunch. I don't eat
It's
lunch.
killer. It's killer. Yeah. I mean, I don't eat lunch, and I don't miss it for a second
Me
now.
either.
And that's, you know, you think about it, you know, it's an hour a day at least that you pick up, plus sort of that hangover impact. So,
Right.
I mean, that was one of the more life-changing things. Now I'm pretty much always scheduling meetings at noon and 11:30, so it gets other people to do the same, whether they like it or not.
We had a coffee. We had a coffee for lunch.
Yeah, that's it. That's all you need.
That's all you need.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Garrett,
good to
what
go.
about you?
You're psychos. I can't function with that. I actually get a headache if I don't. I need something, and I go for protein. I go for, you know, something light carb. But I
Yeah,
need.
but you're lean.
I need something.
But the thing is, you're lean, bro.
I need something because otherwise I turn into hangry Garrett, and hangry Garrett is not a fun Garrett.
Well, I've learned that everybody's different. There is
They
no
are. Their
one.
body
There is no
types.
one size fits all. So, you know, it's been life changing for some, and others like, nah, I can't do it. So,
So take me to a normal day.
yeah,
Like you wake up on a Monday morning.
Yeah,
after
so-
a weekend.
so
you come
I-
in the office.
yeah. I'm not. You know, you talk to some people who are the early risers. You know, I get up at 3:30 and I'm in the office. No, that's not me. I mean, for me, I'm like 6:30 would be a good wake up time. 7. So usually, you know, see my kids. I have a 7 and 10-year-old, so they're off to school. And then depending on the schedule, sometimes I'll a couple days a week go to the gym in the morning after that. Otherwise, to the office. And you know, I try to be home by 7,
Okay.
you know, or a little bit earlier.
Sure.
And you know, I didn't used to be like that either, right? Just like staying up late. So I try to set, you know, some boundaries on, you know, how you're going to run the day. Otherwise, you could work 24/7.
Do you think about it the night before?
I do. Yeah, I have everything planned. I mean, so I don't need every day to be the same, but I like to know what it is. And
You do it a week ahead of time?
yeah, usually a week
About a week,
before.
yeah.
Yeah. So if it's not on the calendar, I don't do it. But try to do that. Make sure we're home and with the family for dinner time. And
Do you feel like you're at a level where the work-life balance is good?
no.
What could improve?
Well, I think it's never. It always sort of oscillates, right?
It's never in life's favor.
Well, it's never consistent. I think is
That's a
maybe
good way to put
the thing. Like I think if you're doing your job right, there are periods where it's in balance and there's periods where it's out of balance. It's sort of like you need a little suffering in life. You need some periods that are out of balance, or you're never going to appreciate the times that it is in balance.
Right.
So, but I guess for me, it ends up there's some like non-negotiables. Like I'm not going to regularly stay up till 1 a.m. working, period.
Right.
I am going to be home for dinner with my family. And then all those other things will work around that to the most part.
Mine's
for the most
Sunday
part.
night. Like,
Yeah.
so Sunday, I got off a plane yesterday from Texas. First thing I did is get off the plane, get my truck, went to my kids, and we had dinner. And a tradition of mine has been Sunday night
Yeah.
dinner. Every Sunday night we have a dinner. How was your week? What's going on? This is our time to catch up and reflect. And it's super important.
Yep.
And it's crazy because I instilled those habits early on. And now I was in Texas yesterday morning and my youngest son texted me and said, "Hey, Dad, what's up?" And I was like, "What's up, man? What's up?" And he goes, "You want to have dinner tonight?" "Yeah." And it's like he's reaching out to me,
Right.
wanting to know,
Right.
are we
Yeah,
having
'cause
Sunday night
he's
dinner?
programmed for that.
programmed,
yeah.
right?
But I think if you set those things, like you can make them happen. Like,
Right.
I've had like a lot of folks on our team. They're like, "Well, I'm so busy, I can't get to the gym." I said, "Look, why don't you pick when you're going to the gym and do it? And the rest of your life or your schedule, even your work life, it can work around that,
Right.
like, to some extent. Not different for different people, but like you have to have some non-negotiables, I think.
What pressure do you feel like you're under every day?
Well, I just want to do a good job. I want to be better every day. I think most of the pressure is self-induced. I'm not worried every day about what other people think, whether they're, people on the outside or our investors or shareholders. I could give you lists of things that I think we could do better any day. I could give you lists of things that we screwed up last week. And so that's the pressure. Like you always have to be better, but you always can be better, and it never stops, right? So that has to you have to get some sort of thrill from that to feed you, maybe.
So I'm going to go a little bit backwards. You went from 6 million to 3 million.
Yep.
When did you go back to 6?
That was probably 2011, maybe.
Then when did you go to 10?
Yeah. Now it's getting a little foggy. Maybe you can caption the revenue chart in the cast here.
So how fast did you go from 10 to like 100?
Yeah, that was probably over a 4-year period-ish.
So if anybody's listening, XPEL went from 10 million to 100 million in 4 years.
Yeah, probably 4 to 5 years.
And then when did you go to 500 million?
Yeah, so we did just under 400 million last year. So, this year will be between 4 and 500.
$400 and $500 million. That's amazing amount of revenue.
What's
That $25,000 debt sounding pretty good right around now,
yeah,
isn't it?
right. That was nothing by comparison. But look, I've had plenty of people ask me like, "Oh, well, did you have that vision? Do you think you could be doing 400 or 500 million when you became the CEO?" The answer is no.
Right.
I wouldn't take credit for that.
Right.
Like that, I wasn't really looking out beyond a year or two, knowing that we could do more, we could be better. That was it. Like there wasn't that master plan at the time or that level of
What do you
vision.
think as a CEO has been your best decision ever?
I think the best decision.
Come on the podcast.
Yeah, outside of
Burke. No, I'm just kidding.
outside of coming, yeah. Well, I think ultimately the best decisions end up people decisions.
People decision.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's the
Like, if you
force
can,
multiplier.
pinpoint one decision as a CEO that you've made since being with XPEL, one decision that you know that in your heart you made as the right decision and you would make it again.
Well, I could think of thousands, but I can't think of one that's so that was so
Memorable.
consequential ultimately. I mean, I think there were many, and probably at the time there was that.
Right.
But then that quickly faded, right? Because the big decision that had a good outcome or solved a big problem, you get to the next week and you have another problem in that one.
Right.
I mean, like I feel like, as people, like our capacity to worry is pretty fixed. So like you and we can worry. If you're the president of the United States, maybe you can worry 15% more, which is why your hair gets grayer faster.
Right.
But you can't worry like 5 times as much.
Right.
And so we're all wired to like fill that up. So, you solve one problem and then another one comes, or you have a problem today and then Monday you have a bigger problem. And somebody's like, what about that thing? Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Yeah,
That was
it was never a problem. Right.
That was
It just
nothing.
moved on.
This fire keeps burning.
So I kind of feel like that now. Probably some of the most consequential things, they've just faded to black, if you will.
Who's helped you the most?
Well, I would say, one, my wife.
Sure.
I mean, she's
That was what I was gonna say.
incredibly supportive, and a lot of trials and tribulations. I mean, when you come home and say, hey, I got us a free trip to Mexico for paying off the lawsuit. Good news. Bad news, you got $25,000 in debt you didn't know about. I mean, you have moments like that, and certainly working a lot, traveling a lot.
How is she now?
She's great. She's great.
Does she support you?
Yeah, she supports me when I don't deserve to be supported. So you can't get any better than that.
It was funny. We were driving around the truck, Garrett. He looks at his driver's license. He was showing me a picture, right? And he goes, I can't believe my wife stayed with me.
That's because she saw the $500 million vision too.
Well, maybe, yeah. Well, in fairness, probably so. Probably saw more vision than I did. But I think, that's number one. We've had, our team is amazing. You talked about him earlier.
agree.
I mean, and it's the team has changed, but only because it's grown.
Yeah.
Not because the people have left. I mean, that's probably the thing I'm the most proud of, is that so many people have been able to grow with the company over time,
Right.
and I think that's great because not everybody can, right? I mean, we all have our own challenges, but I think,
I'm looking for a CEO, by the way.
you're looking for a CEO.
Yeah, you're up for.
Yeah, no, I think there's probably
I'm
one.
looking to retire.
I'm hoping this one and done for me. So I don't need to be a CEO of another company.
I'm just
if
kidding.
I can
No,
have
so
a
the
choice.
thing is, outside of XPEL, what's going to challenge you next?
Well, I think, I like to do things. I like a little suffering. So right now, I think my tomato plants are challenging me.
Tomato plants.
That's some more today.
You have a green thumb.
No. Yeah, I need a green thumb. I don't know. I like to be outside. I'm trying to put a little more time in the schedule for golf right now.
on.
Yeah. And if you want something
Are you
that's
going to come visit me in Arizona now?
sure,
Okay.
yeah. If you want something that's more frustrating than being the CEO of XPEL, it's trying to be a better golfer. So
I can help you with that.
yeah, so I'm sure you can.
I started playing golf when I was 4 years old. My
Yeah.
dad, you met him today.
Yeah, I did.
He met my
Very
dad.
serendipitous.
You
today.
can see by Mike's hair how well that's gone.
I live on I lived on a golf course for 18 years, bro. The driving range was in my backyard.
Yeah.
I'm very good at mechanics of golf.
Okay.
And I actually, when I sold my first company, Lightning Mics, and I started advertising, what I didn't tell you earlier is I play golf every day.
Okay.
And my house is on a golf course. And the putting green and the driving range are in my backyard.
Yep.
Well, I got to know the pros really well. And then my son was on the golf team in high school and made it to state. My pilot.
Yeah.
The guy that tends
Yeah, yeah.
And I learned the fundamentals of golf at Pine Lake Country Club. And my dad was talking to you today about playing the Masters
Right.
golf course. And I have a very good fundamental structure of golf. But what really helped me more than anything is when I calmed down and started playing with 65-year-old men, and I threw my driver away and broke it in half and started playing with a 3-wood. And they said, you hit the ball to the 150 marker, and then you hit the 150 marker to the center of the green, and you never try to make a putt.
Yeah.
Don't make a putt. Make it within 2 feet so you can putt it in. And they started playing par golf. And these dudes just play straight golf, like, meow, meow, meow. And it's the boringest fucking damn game ever.
It's never about ripping it. It's never about getting it in.
I'm literally going to the clubhouse, and we played 9 holes, right? They're like, oh, yeah, John, Bob, what'd you have? I had a 32. What'd you have? A 36. I'm like, what? I was in the bunker. I was in the woods. Outdrove these guys by like 100 yards, but it was like, they score.
Yeah.
And it's the game of scoring.
Yeah. Well, you're probably tenacious enough to keep up with it either way.
It's a pace.
Right?
It's a tempo.
Yeah.
And,
so, yeah, I think you got to make time for other things.
Right.
So I've got some other.
Do you like golf?
I do. I like to be outside. So
outside.
I like to be on the bike.
Mountain bike?
I like to road bike.
Oh,
I have mountain bike too.
Mountain bike's my thing.
Yeah, mountain bike.
Road bike boring.
It's boring.
It's boring.
Unless you can let your mind go.
It's
and
boring.
then
You're an
all
extrovert.
right, we may have a challenge.
I'm an extrovert. I like.
How are you
adrenaline.
who are you extroverting with on your mountain bike
Up,
though?
down, hills, cliff,
Okay.
jump,
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
Extrovert with the mountain.
No, I just like excitement. The road bike thing.
I mean, anything outside. Like
I agree.
I'd like to be the mountains, summer, winter, skiing.
you have a place to stay anytime you want in Arizona.
No, that's great. Yeah, anything outside would
Love
be
it.
ideal.
We were just talking about Tucson and how we now have a place in Tucson, and you now have a place to go play golf.
No, thank you. With your instruction.
No. I literally learned how to play golf with a push broom. I'm not kidding, like a witch's broom.
Yeah.
I'll show you. It's really stupid, but it actually works.
Cool.
Anyway, so what's next for XPEL?
Well, I think what I like to tell our team is that we could be anything that we want to be, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of a big challenge, and it could take you in the wrong direction too, because you could chase too many things. But I think everything that we're doing, we've got more of it that we can do. We can always be better at it, like we talked about earlier. The international markets for us are huge.
I see a lot of potential.
I mean, what we have in the United States, it doesn't exist in most places.
The
with a few
car
exceptions.
culture overseas is insane. And it's funny because Chris and I were talking West. It's like when we went to Japan, it was like going to the U.S. in like 1999.
Right.
It's like they're 20 years behind
Yeah.
us. It's insane.
Yeah, well, that's been pretty much what everyone said about all these markets.
Right.
Europe is sort of the same way. Like the U.S. has really, led in so many ways, and now you have the development of that elsewhere. So, doing that, I think a big part of the future, and then whatever else we want to do to broaden our business.
There's a lot of room for growth.
There's a lot of room for growth.
And you're 43.
43.
He's 43. So you got a lot of time to stay at XPEL.
A lot of time.
Yeah. So what do you like doing what you're doing?
I like doing what I'm doing. I mean, if I didn't, I need to move on, right?
Every time I see you, you're happy. And
Yeah.
fun.
I mean, 9 out of 10 days. Look, one out of
always smiling.
you can ask people in the office. I mean, 1 out of 10, I'm a real son of a bitch. But 9 out of 10, like
you do not strike me as being a son of a bitch.
You can poll and get that. But look, that's 1 out of 10. I think I need to like it 9 out of 10 days. You start slipping below that, more often than occasionally. You need to ask what you're doing.
Right.
But also, like, I'm in charge. So if I don't like it, who do I have to blame other than myself, right? No one. So, I feel very fortunate. I mean, like we talked about,
Can you say that for the people in the back that didn't quite hear that?
Yeah. Say that again.
which part?
When if you're in charge and you don't like it, who do you?
Oh yeah,
complain to?
yeah. It's worth repeating. Yeah, if you're in charge and you don't like it, you have no one to blame but yourself. I think is what it was. So I do think that's true. But I do like it, and I feel fortunate. I've had this amazing opportunity to do this, and like we talked about, in a way that I would have never expected. So what if I can't continue to do this, who's to say the next thing is going to be better? Or what else are you chasing, right? I mean, it's sort of
I'm still having fun.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So if I can't do it, if I can't do a good job, I need to move on. If I find somebody better, hopefully somebody from within our company, they should take over, right? Those would all be good things. But all other things equal, I like what I'm doing, and there's a lot more to do. So I want to keep doing it.
Do you see any more products that you guys could expand into?
Yeah, I think so. We talk about that a lot. I think the challenge is always like, how do you you remain focused, or do you get your attention on too many other things, right? They say companies can die of indigestion, right? Trying to do too many things at once. So that's always been kind of the balance. But look, the space that we're in, the broader space, when you look at all of the pieces of it all around the world, it's enormous. So you can easily start going in a bunch of directions, which I think, if we want to go from, 400 million, 500 million, you say, okay, $1 billion, $2 billion, $3 billion, like what kind of company do you want to be? Well, you'll probably go do more things. But I think you want to do that in a way that's really thoughtful and that doesn't compromise what you're doing already. You're not doing too many things at once, because that's no
Has there
good
been
either.
any problems during COVID versus now on manufacturing or product getting it, or
Yeah, well, I
supply
think
chain
the supply chain issues during COVID were real, and I think it was talked about a lot, but I don't think people really understood what that meant. And I think it caught everybody by surprise. So, when you had the early days of the China lockdown, right, and China was shut, and we saw that early because we had big business in China, and it went to zero before anybody in the U.S. even cared, right? When you're talking like February of 20, and we had no supply chain, no products coming out of China of any kind. So it's like, oh, we're fine, right? But what you realize is when you go supplier of supplier of supplier of supplier, and you go backwards enough times, there were enough things still coming out of China that you didn't know about that may have been a component of a precursor to what you were buying, or could have been a necessary component, but like a throwaway, right? It was something that was used and done, that everybody had that dependence on China. And so, that didn't cause us any problems. We had no stock out of products, but you realize you had a lot more risk. And so for us, after that, it was like, no, we're just going to have to ensure that we have more inventory, because there's just more risk in the business than you thought. And we were really proud that, like, the whole COVID and after COVID season, we were never out of products. We pay the price in terms of more inventory, carrying more inventory than we want, but we were never out.
But you guys saw a ton of growth.
Yeah.
During COVID.
Yeah, I mean, we like a lot of companies. We got to that April of 20 when everything shut down. We all got together and did the math. It's like, okay, well, if we don't sell anything, like, how long can we stay in business? I think every company did that same analysis, and the answer wasn't a good one. I think it doesn't matter who you are, the answer to that was not good. But many of our customers were essential, or they deemed themselves essential, which was my favorite, and I certainly encouraged them to do so. And so even in April, I think our business was down like 30-40%, but it obviously wasn't zero. And then you saw that change so quickly after that, which I think everybody did, into May and June, and then you were back. So
when did you what's that, go ahead, Gary?
No, I was going to say, and that was the risk that I saw a lot of businesses take. When a friend of mine is the manager of a Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Winston-Salem. He was the only one that said, yes, send me more inventory.
Yep.
He didn't care if that meant that it was going to hurt him that month. He knew, he had the foresight to see, send me the inventory. I'll keep taking it. And no other
did it.
would.
Is that what you did?
And he had the inventory.
We did. I mean, we've learned many times. I mean, our customer base is buying, most of them, multiple times per month. So if you don't have the product when you're ordering it today because you need it tomorrow or the next day, you're sending that business in a tailspin, and it causes problems for them and for us. So we made sure throughout the whole time. And then after the initial COVID, as people were restocking in all different industries, you had all sorts of other supply shocks and different components and raw materials, and the petrochemical business was in disarray. And at each time, we're like, no, let's just build more inventory, because we can't run out.
I'm going to ask a little different question. You went from computer science, programming computers, to becoming the CEO of XPEL. Did you ever still at XPEL work with the computer and the programming and things?
Along the way, sure. Yeah.
Like the DAP and
the I mean, that overlapped with me being the CEO for some time. And even today, I'm very involved.
Do you still write code?
No, but I'm mainly just telling everybody they're too slow and not moving fast enough.
I love it.
That's my role.
I love it.
And I have a little bit of credibility to say that,
You're like,
even though it's pretty
All right,
dated
bro.
now.
I'm 43 years old. I'm writing code fast.
I'll be like, no. So the answer is no. But I have a appreciation for it,
Right.
And I think that helps us. But then, my involvement is like, why isn't it done yet?
Have you ever paint protected a car?
I have. I've been through our training, and
have?
I've
Tint.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Could you actually tint a car?
Saleable, or
That's like Thad.
yeah.
Thad, you think you can sell a car?
Uh,
Oh, you did?
no, I mean I don't think you'd want to sell my work.
Right.
But you have to touch it enough to have an appreciation for what we're doing.
It's time to touch some film, bro.
You don't want that.
Yeah, I do.
No,
Your attention to detail is incredible.
that's the problem.
That's awesome, man. So here's the thing. One thing I noticed about XPEL is your support for racing. How has that impacted XPEL?
Well, I mean, we know that we have a lot of our end customers that racing is a place to find them, right? Some of the enthusiast customers. And we've tried to align the racing, though, where we have good partners involved, too. So you've seen with Penske, with Ray Hall, and, those two have, a lot of dealership and industry connectivity.
Right.
So it makes them great partners that we've been able to introduce our customers to and everybody. I think that combination between the tie with the enthusiast buyer and then other parts of the broader space we're in, that's been a big part of the draw.
Right.
So we've been real happy to be partnered with all of them.
So Garrett is a car guy. He likes Porsches and nice cars.
Yeah,
right?
everything.
And so Ryan and I were talking, and Ryan, what is the nicest car you drive?
F-150.
Nice.
We may have that in common.
Yes, but it's probably a platinum,
Well, I mean, yes, but that's probably not saying much.
So we're literally talking down the road, and I was like, hey, bro, like if I won the lottery and had $250 million in the bank, like what car would you buy? And I'd be like, the newer version of my truck.
Yeah.
You've heard me say that.
all the time.
Because we work on cars so much, but I'm not like a car
Yeah.
enthusiast. Like I don't like look at cars like, oh my God, I want a car.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. And I think also, like,
It's worse than a drug habit.
yeah, it is for some. But it makes me focused on, I want all the F-150 buyers to want our product, right?
Right.
And a lot more of them will and can than do currently. So I think, if you're looking at how are we going to grow the business, how are we going to grow the industry, that's a big part of it. Because, just because you're the F-150 buyer and not, a supercar, doesn't mean you don't care about your car equally as much, right? And I think a lot of people miss that.
Got started doing supercars mainly.
Did it? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we started off, paint protection was Ferraris, Porsches, Lamborghinis. Now it's what, Camrys?
Yeah, I
It's
know you
everything.
see.
We have done more daily drivers
Yeah.
than supercars.
Yeah, and I think that's important. A lot of people don't get that, and they don't see that as the growth opportunity for this business. But it's absolutely a key part of it.
Well, they go for the sexy. It's
Right,
It's
yeah, I
sexier on Instagram to show a
That's it.
Ferrari or a
That's it.
Lamborghini.
Right, but to the owner of the Camry, to the owner of the F-150, it means
more
just as
important.
much, right?
Yeah. Well, the guys that drive the nice cars are parking them.
Yeah.
They're not even driving them.
No.
I'm going to ask you this. The partnerships that you have with the manufacturers, how's that working out?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at what we want to do, like use your example of how do you reach more of the audience, there's only so many people that are going to learn about PPF and then take their car into the aftermarket to buy it, right? So how do we grow that overall?
Right.
Well, one way to grow it is to partner with manufacturers because they can help raise awareness, like Rivian. I mean, you look at what our partnership with Rivian, with what we do with Rivian and what the aftermarket does, you have an attach rate into Rivian higher than a lot of other vehicles because it's not cannibalizing one for one. It's growing the market. We're creating more awareness.
Right.
You look at the dealerships. I mean, a big focus for us is how do we get more of our customers and installers to do more work for dealerships because they have a huge captive customer that when they see our products, they're open to them. They would consider buying it, but they may not be one who will buy the car and take the car into the aftermarket to go buy the product on their own. So whether it's the manufacturers, the dealerships, we've got to create more awareness of the product to more of the consumer beyond that enthusiast. So that's one way to do it. The dealership's one way to do it. And then obviously you have all the sort of marketing and advertising as the third way. But all of those, serve the goal to create more awareness. I mean, among the enthusiast community, like, people know PPF. Among the general population, it falls off in a hurry still.
One thing one of my tenders said to me one time, he goes, "Man, there's another tent shop just opened up down the street." And I said, "Great." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "I hope he starts advertising." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Bro, there's 2 million cars in Charlotte. If he advertises, they're going to call us and get a quote too."
Yeah.
And that's the thing about marketing is I want more PPF shops. I want more tent shops.
Yep.
And I want more of them to do more advertising.
Right.
Thad is a nuclear, what do you got, nuclear engineer? Masters in, yeah, fuck you. Masters in, yeah, he says masters, right? So masters in nuclear engineering. So he's a smart dude. And he does the math. And he's sitting there looking at Google Ads, and he's looking at algorithms and all these, numbers. And he goes, "Mike, I know you're good at tinting, but I'm good at numbers." And I said, "Fair. You agree." He hands me the numbers. He goes, "If everybody started doing advertising, we'd have more awareness." And that's really what I'm about.
Yeah.
Is more awareness.
No, I think there has to be more awareness. And, if we can collectively think, okay, rather than try and solely fight for the same cars that are being sold, how do we reach more people?
Right.
That's the opportunity. Right. And all of these things help do that.
I can only tint so many cars.
Yeah. Well, and there are a lot of cars out there. And I think, people mistake that there's pride of ownership with a huge portion of the new car buyer. They're not all enthusiasts, but
Right.
There's pride of ownership. So how do you reach those people who maybe aren't the enthusiasts looking for the product, but they're receptive to the product?
Right.
And so more advertising, more outreach, more good customer testimonials is the way to get sales. Yeah.
Sales. So if you're a small window tinting and paint protection shop and you're the CEO and the man of XPEL, what kind of advice could you give those guys? Like just any kind of advice, like a little nugget. We call this in the podcast world a nugget. Like what kind of nugget could you give them?
Well, I think my story and your story and their experience is probably more similar than not.
Right.
And so, be persistent and don't give up. I mean, I think that's the number one thing. If you have your customer in mind and you stay focused, you're going to have problems, whether you're me, whether you're Mike Burke, whether you're the guy just starting out. Like, everybody has problems, and they all seem like an existential problem. But for the most part, they're not. Like, you're going to be around tomorrow. You're going to be in business tomorrow. And the people that aren't successful, for the most part, are the ones that give up.
They give up.
They give up. They give up. And so whatever it is, I mean, you can imagine starting out, right? You have one key employee, and you lose that employee, and the world's spiraling. Well, we've lost people, right? I mean, or you're short on cash. You don't know how to pay your bills. All right, we covered that. I mean, so all of these things, there's always an answer. There's almost never is there, a problem that you can't find an answer to, and you'll be smarter for it. So, push through would be my advice.
One thing I told a guy one time, I said, until you take a loan out on your personal car to make payroll, which I have, you haven't really been in business yet.
Right. I think that's fair.
Because in business, you have to pay your people before you pay yourself.
Yep.
And then as soon as you do that, you really get it. You're like, holy shit. Like, it's easy to go clock in and clock out for somebody else. Yep. It's not easy.
Well, and I think for the person listening that's having that experience now, it's like, yeah, you do that. Do it, because you have to. But you'll get through it, you'll figure it out, and you'll be stronger on the other side, right? That's not a reason to quit, in other words.
Did you ever partner or strategically partner with anyone at XPEL when you were early on? Did you get money and resources or anything?
No, I mean, so XPEL was funded through money that was raised in Canada, part of being a public company in Canada. And I'll go, if we have time, I'll do my my consulting pitch on being a public company in Canada and the pros and cons. I'll look at the camera. Don't do it. So I think the XPEL, the entire company raised over time around $7 million, I think, of outside capital.
Right.
And that was from a lot of individuals who did private placements and things early on. But that was really it. And once that initial money was raised on the years like 03 to 08 probably, that was it. And so there was no partnership. We were on our own from then on.
When you went public on the NASDAQ, you were on there and ding, ding, ding.
They're ringing the bell.
Was that fun?
It was. I mean, I never thought I'd do that in my life. It wasn't necessarily something I ever aspired to do.
Was it fun?
It was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
That's it was fun, man. Are you kidding me? You're there.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm on TV. Ding, ding, ding.
yeah, it was fun. It was fun for sure. And
That's awesome.
we had you can bring so many people, and we went and brought some of the longest tenured people.
Right.
Was who we brought from all different jobs in the company.
Right.
That was really cool. So we had a great dinner and celebrated that.
What was
people had been there 15 years?
What was the price of the stock that day?
It was around $5, I think, when we flipped from Canada to NASDAQ.
And then how fast did you go up?
Well, it hit $15 shortly thereafter, within a week or two.
All I kept doing, like literally, my friends at XPEL, buy XPEL, buy XPEL, buy XPEL. Like the whole world was like, buy XPEL. I'm like, I'm already buying XPEL. I buy the fucking film. I'm already buying their stock. I'm
already inflating your stock price.
And we thank you for that. Yeah.
It's all good. But anyway, anything you want to tell the audience that you think is a small business that you could help and give them some advice?
Well, I mean, I think we talked about the one being the persistence. And I think, I tried to share my learning earlier, which was really maybe not initially appreciating everybody that worked for me, where you think, okay, these people they're not committed, or they don't care, or it's just a job. But the reality is the default is the opposite. Those people are the exception, the ones that don't care. And so I think if you trust in the people and, assume that they have noble intent, and assume that they want what's good for your company, you'd probably be much better off, because more than likely they do.
This is Ryan Pape, the CEO of XPEL, who is 43 years old, who handles a board of directors. Do you have to answer to?
Yeah, we have a board, sure.
And then
we've got a great board.
Who do you report to?
Yeah, we have a board.
And how many people are on that board?
So we've got 5 today.
5?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. Probably grow to 7, but
really?
5. Well, look, I mean, if you have a big board, big boards are dysfunctional.
Okay.
I mean, if you imagine imagine having 13 people sit around a table, try to agree on anything, or have a strong opinion about something, you just get drowned out.
Right.
So that's if you see companies with big boards, they're probably dysfunctional, my opinion. But so I think you need a tight board, so you have accountability. And accountability, to me,
who appoints?
The shareholders appoint the directors.
Is there like a vote every year?
Yeah, vote every year.
How do I get my name in there?
We'll have to talk. Yeah.
All right, sounds good.
Let's see what we can do.
I love it. I'd love to be on the board of directors. That'd be cool. I'd stir the pot.
Yeah. Bet. Well, you would be a good director of anything if you stir the pot. I mean, because that's the job. That's
exactly.
The job. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. So what's next for you?
Well, I think keep doing what I'm doing.
Keep doing.
Try and make it bigger and better. That's my hope. That's my goal.
You're doing a good job.
Well, I appreciate it. Appreciate you having me.
Jared, you got anything you want to ask this dude?
All right, I got 2 questions.
Yep.
You're in an elevator with Warren Buffett. What's your elevator pitch for yourself, and then what's your elevator pitch for XPEL?
I'm going to answer the question differently.
Okay.
I think I would use the time with Warren Buffett not to pitch myself or XPEL, but to talk to him. I think an opposite, because he's been like the amazing capital allocator of all time. And so I don't know what I would ask him, but that even in my position today, that's still that's still like my job number one, you know. And I think that's maybe a challenge for the next 10 years for XPEL, which is, you know, every dollar of profit we've ever generated, every dollar has been put back in the business, right? So there's no distributions, there's no dividends, there's no money going out. So like all of a sudden, if you do that over time and it gets bigger and bigger dollars, like what do you do with it? So I think if I was with Warren Buffett, I would be asking him about how to be as good of a allocator of capital as he was.
Allocator of capital, which means you have lots of profit sitting in the bank, and what do you do with it? And how do you make it more profitable for the company?
How do you make it work?
How do you put it to work?
How do you put it to work?
Because ultimately, you know, if we as XPEL or anybody, your company, if you have more cash in the bank than you need to either invest it in the business to do something, or you need to take it out and return it to the shareholders. Well, you know, I'd rather invest it in the business. So you have to have good ideas.
Yep. I just put more lights in the shop.
You're doing
Investing in the business.
Yeah, you're not buying cars with it for the most
No,
part.
I'm always investing every day.
Yeah, every day.
That's the key to success. Is I literally always put money back in the business.
Yeah. And that's probably, you know, you ask for good advice for everybody else, like, you know, decide like what's your commitment to reinvest in your business versus how much do you need to pull out for your lifestyle, because, you know, those are two different things probably.
How important is your lifestyle? Without the business, your lifestyle doesn't increase.
But, you know, people make different decisions, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ooh, that's a great question.
What's that?
So many people on Instagram, social media, that are tinters, that are PPFers, that are ceramic coaters, they're all about the lifestyle. I've got this car. I just saw someone post a brand new Cybertruck and they put their label on the side because they wanted a, you know, what would you say to someone who's doing that versus someone who's reinvesting in the business, just has a truck? How would you I'm not change someone's mind, but how would you say that is impactful, positive or negative?
Well, I don't know that it is. I mean, I think you own the business. You deserve the right to do it and run it any way that you want to, right? And so for some, you know, some want to build an empire and some want to build a lifestyle business that gives their family a good lifestyle. I don't know that there's a right and wrong answer, and it appeals differently to different people. I think that if you look at XPEL, I think one of the things that's resonated with our team is that every dollar of profit that we've made goes back in the business. So maybe the answer to the question is like, think about it in terms of your team, right? The team that works for you, they're going to see you reinvest in the business, or they're going to see you fund your own lifestyle, right? And so what message do you want to send, and how do you manage that, right? So if they see you're expanding, they may say, hey, I can grow with this guy. I can grow with this company. If they see less expansion, you know, you got to think, how are you going to retain the people who may not see the same opportunity?
Garrett, do you see growth with Sunstoppers?
That's why I'm sitting here.
No pressure.
Well, not here, but that's why I'm with the company, is because I see the growth. I see the opportunity. I see the potential.
You see it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You think I'm a good coach?
Yeah.
Fuck you.
No. No. I that's the reason. What captivates me about this business is the opportunity. What captivates me is not just Sunstoppers. It's the tint industry. Being a car guy, I know I'm not mechanically inclined. Point blank. I appreciate cars. I love cars. I love people who love cars. I love people who understand that I love cars. That is why I'm in this business, is because I'm around something that I enjoy so much. Those 9 out of 10 days, I absolutely love it. I do have that one day where I could just beat someone's head in with a hammer, but it doesn't get overshadowed by those 9 days. It is so incredible what I love about this industry.
Are you still having fun?
Absolutely.
See, we're having fun.
Every single day.
Fun.
You gotta have fun. Excitement, entertainment, and fun. And love what you do.
Yep.
And you're not working a single day. Plus you enjoy, I hate Thad, even though I'm just kidding. I love Thad. He's actually awesome.
It's not hate, it's just envy.
No, I love him. He's just smarter than me at certain things that I can't do, and I fucking hate it. But he can't fucking do tint, so I got him.
Well, it's good to know that if we needed to tint a rocket ship, we got you. But if we needed to actually power the rocket ship, we go to Thad.
If I want an introduction to Elon Musk, I'm just calling Thad. So good. But Ryan, thank you, man.
Mike, no, it's great.
This is awesome.
You're a great friend, a great partner. Thanks for having me.
You know, people always ask me, how are you friends with Ryan Pape? And I was like, he's a dude, bro. Like, he's just like us. I mean, he's a guy that comes to work, puts a passion on his sleeve, and you're approachable, you're nice, you're a genuine guy.
Yeah, well, I appreciate
and
that.
I think that's what most people don't realize, is that Ryan is a genuine guy, and you're one of us.
Yeah.
I was just telling you that earlier, and you were like, "Thank you for saying that." I'm like, when you talk about window tinting, right? If Thad and I had a little bit of a discrepancy when we first started. We've been together 6 years yet, Todd? 6? I don't know. Anyway, the tinting culture versus like the corporate culture, and it's like a respect for each other, and it was hard to give that respect. But it's like, Ryan, you have a computer engineering degree.
Yep.
And you're approachable, you're nice, you're responsive, you talk, and you don't think for one instant that you're better than a window tinter.
Then I'm not. That's why I'm here.
Exactly.
Right.
And the thing is, you respect
Yeah.
what the people do for a living, tinting windows and doing paint protection, and you respect them, and they respect you. And see, that's really, at the end of the day, you're good at what you do, and they're good at what
Right.
they do, but you work together. Because without you running this company, we wouldn't have the products that we have, and we wouldn't have the brand that we have. And you've made hard decisions by hiring the right people. And that, to me, I hired that, and he's a smart guy. I hired Garrett. He's a smart guy. They're good at shit that I'm not good at.
Right.
But being aware of hiring the people that make you feel like, bro, that dude's good at what he's doing.
Yeah. No, for sure. That's the most important thing. And I think as our company grows, and you want to push out those corporate influences.
Right.
Because they creep in, right? You can imagine, you have all sorts of outside pressure to do things that don't make sense and that no one really knows why. Like, oh, we should do this. Well, why? The saying, ask why 5 times. And usually the answer is, well, at my old job, at my old company, we did this, and I don't know why we did it, so we should do it here. So the answer is no.
No.
We're not going to do it. So,
Love it.
But I think you have to push back. I feel like that's a big part of my job too, is to, I want to make it a company that I would want to work for too. And I would,
One thing, I'm going to end with this, but one thing I told in business consulting is, I said, would you work for you? Would you work for you?
I would work for me today.
Yeah, me too.
I wouldn't have always worked for me.
Okay.
Truthfully. Yeah.
That's cool.
I'd work for me today.
He'd work for you.
Yeah.
Garrett, would you work for you?
I'd work for me.
Dad, would you work for you?
Depends if you do a good job.
He just shook his head no.
But I'm going to end on that. You would work for you.
I'd work for me today.
I would work for you.
No, thank you. I'd
I
work
would.
for you.
I would too, because you're amazing. Thank you so much for coming to Charlotte, North Carolina. Garrett, anything you want to end with?
And this has been awesome.
Yeah, I'm super pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
guys. I appreciate you having me. It's been great.
This is family, and everybody was like, "How are you going to do the podcast with the fucking Ryan and CEO of XPEL?" I'm like, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to talk to my friend and have fun, and that's what we just did.
For sure.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
See you,
Yeah.
man.